Hey everyone, Eski here again with another game gym workout. Today we're going to be talking about team play and what heroes most teams will play. So before we talk about team compositions, let's get into our warm-up. Today, since we're learning more about how specific heroes interact with each other, I will give you a group of heroes and you'll need to find the counter. This group of heroes are Winston, Tracer, Sombra, Brigitte, and Ana. Take the next 5 minutes to come up with a team that would directly counter this composition and hold on to what you answered. We might just be using it later. The first team composition we'll be covering today is the dive composition. This comp usually consists of mostly mobile heroes like Tracer and Winston. You might notice that this comp is very similar to the one that I provided in the warm-up. The purpose of dive is to pick a target as a team, jump in, and get out, and then reset again for another dive. This type of composition is really good for teams that are immobile and like to play spread out from one another, since it's easier to isolate a target. These types of comps tend to struggle against teams that move together as a group, since it becomes hard to isolate a singular target. So if it's hard to isolate somebody, you should probably consider switching to a different team composition. Next we'll be talking about the Brawl composition. This group of heroes usually involves Mei, Reinhardt, or Ramatra. It helps to have a Lucio too.
Get into this groove!
These compositions are very close range, since the main damage of the team comes from either Reinhardt's hammer or Ramatra's fists. The strength of this group is that they tend to deathball together, meaning that they often stand very close to one another and run over the opponent in front of them. Since it is a close range comp, it struggles crossing long reaches of space, and heroes that have a lot of range, like Sigma and Hanzo, can make it difficult for this team, since they are taking damage from something that they cannot touch. The last composition that we'll be talking about today is the Spam composition. This group of heroes usually includes Sigma, Hanzo, and Zenyatta. This comp excels at long-range fights, since they're able to shoot from very far away. On smaller maps, they like to separate into little angles in order to shoot their enemy from multiple directions. The weakness of this comp is since they're so spread out, it's very easy to catch players alone. So if you're having trouble against this team comp, it might be better to switch to something that can take advantage of this spread out formation. The reason why we learn these different types of compositions is to get comfortable with what each hero's strengths and weaknesses are in the team. This way we can adapt these styles to our own play and push our limits to one of these 3 styles. It's kinda like how in most games there are certain characters that just counter others, like Soldier and Pharah. This is also doubly true for the teams of heroes as well. Remember in the warm-up when I gave you a group of heroes that we had to come up with a counter for? You might notice that it's also a dive composition. Now what would counter this based on the compositions that we have discussed thus far? Would it be A, dive, B, spam, or C, brawl? If you chose C, brawl, you were correct. And lastly, what do you think counters spam? Would it be A, brawl, B, dive, or C, spam? If you answered B, dive, you are correct. Today we covered the strengths and weaknesses of the 3 most currently played team compositions. Sometime later, we will revisit the fundamentals of each composition, so make sure to check my feed. Once again, this has been Eski with Game Gym. Remember, if you want a VOD review, or just talk Overwatch, just DM me in the Game Gym Discord. I hope to see you in the next workout.